Basil Rathbone, you got to have him. And of course his sidekick Watson. But I absolutely love that story. I always have. So detective novels. It's kind of interesting. Again, like I said, I do not read James Patterson, and I will not read James Patterson, although many consider him to be, one of the leading authors in mysteries. But I don't, because he doesn't write his own. So I'm sorry. I just won't read that. Another author, and I absolutely love him because I love his books. There, The Thin Man, Dashiell Hammett. Absolutely love this man, The Thin Man. Um, it actually, he started in a magazine, Red Book, in December 1933. I absolutely love those. Um, the Thin Man, the Maltese Falcon, of course. Who could forget the Maltese Falcon? Absolutely amazing. Nightmare Town. Um, he's just The Girl with the Silver Eyes is another one. I'm trying to see which ones I have read. Um, I have not read Lost Stories, but I absolutely love the Thin Man series. The Thin Man, he is just that's one of my favorite stories, and of course, it was a movie film with Myrna Loy and William Powell. Absolutely love Myrna Loy anyway. So she was those two were perfect for that. It's a 1934 American code comedy, and is based on the novel of the same name. I just, I love The Thin Man. I do. It's one of my favorite books. I also love the rest of the movies too. After The Thin Man, The Next Thin Man. It's just it's great. It's great. They're detective novels. It was published in 1934. He wrote a sequel, but the book became the basis for a successful six-part film series. So there were six movies based off of that. He lived until 1961, and The Thin Man was actually his last published novel. Hammett was commissioned to work on screenplays for sequels, and of course, he wrote After the Thin Man and Another Thin Man, they were discovered in Hammett's papers in 2011, along with instructions for additional elements written by the screenwriters for this. And it's based in New York City in December, in the last days of Prohibition. And if you've seen the movie, you know that Nick Charles is a drinker, and there's chemistry between him and Merloy, and it just brings that story to life. He's just great. And of course, there's Asta, the dog, absolutely amazing. I love Asta, he's great. But again, it's a detective story, and it's one of my favorites. Absolutely one of my favorites. Maltese Falcon, we all know the Maltese Falcon, of course. It's a 1929 detective novel, and it was originally serialized in the magazine Black Mask, and it has been, of course, adapted to film many times. And we all know who was in the movies. Absolutely wonderful. And of course, Sam Spade's in it. He appears in the novel and three of the short stories. And it just, it's a different take on the detective, old detective Gumshoe type person. And he's cited as a crystallizing figure in the development of the hard-boiled private eye genre. So, good old Sam Spade in there. And the novel, it contains a considerable amount of subtext. I don't think it was in the movie, some of the subtext in there. You'll have to read it for yourself. I don't want to even bring it up on air here. So, and Spade is combines several features of previous detectives: his cold detachment, keen eye for detail, unflinching, ruthless determination for his form of justice. So he basically formed the hard-nosed detective type persona. That's the word I was looking for, the persona. The movie, of course, we know, absolutely, that was one of the best movies ever made. And, of course, we all know who was in it. Of course, our own Humphrey Bogart, Peter Lorre, Mary Astor, Sidney Greenstreet. How could you forget his laugh? Totally, he was just totally... he's a character in of himself, for sure. But Humphrey Bogart or Sam Spade, they couldn't have... He was just your typical old gumshoe type. And I like the older versions. I'm not a big fan of the more contemporary detectives. I'm a old school type person with that. Creeps by Night is another one by him. Interesting. You can download that, by the way, if you need to. It was on Old Time Radio, of course. I like his style of writing. I'm trying to think of the words I want to use to describe his writing. It gives, like I said, it gives credence to the old hard-nosed gumshoe type person. I'd like that persona of that. Now they're all wishy-washy and everything else, if you ask me. But that's just me. Creeps by Night, it became an old-time radio horror program. Stories of suspense and mystery, described in a newspaper as subtle psychological thrillers. In the first episode, the voice of death dealt with the widow who was made to commit murders after hearing the voice of her dead husband. And of course, we all know that later on that developed into a lot broader area. It was just, they said they were literally scared out of their skins with it. So that's a good thing. Ghosts, goblins, and ghouls creep through the pages of that book. Another good one by Dashiell Hammett. Another one I really, really enjoyed was The Glass Key. Excuse me. So, The Glass Key was said to be his favorite, Dashiell Hammett's favorite. And again, it was first published as a serial in that Black Mask magazine. So, I really would have loved to live back then and read some of these listened to the old radio shows. I would have really enjoyed that. It was originally published in 1931. And like I said, it was Dashiell Hammett's favorite among his works. It tells the story of a gambler and racketeer whose devotion to a crooked political boss leads him to investigate the murder of a senator's son as a potential gang war bruise. Also, a radio adaptation, of course, with Orson Welles reading it, aired on March 10th, 1939. It was also a major influence on the Coen brothers' 1990 film Miller's Crossing. So there you go. But The Glass Key, again, that's one of my favorites also. I'm not really into the political aspect of a lot of in books, but this one had me. I really liked it. And so, it just goes up the great deal of money from a gambling debt, and he ends up getting beaten up, threatening letters, hinting Madvig was a murderer, and of course his daughter, suspicion falls on her. So you've got all the elements for a great detective novel: the gangs, the gambling, the bosses, the beatings, all the stuff we look for in hard-nosed detective novels. So, some of those. Chris, is there anything, any books you'd like to ask about? Like I said, Dashiell Hammett is one of my favorites. So, how about Michael Connelly? Sue Grafton. Sue Grafton is... she goes through the alphabet. She's wonderful. I like her writing. I think she's good. The first one, A for Alibi, is Sue Grafton's debut mystery novel in the Alphabet Mystery Series. And the first one came out in 1982. And is set in Southern California. So, interesting. So she, of course, her Alphabet Murders, absolutely amazing. It is in a fictional town. She admits she conceived the story of her own fantasies of murdering her then husband while going through a divorce, and I think we've all done that. I could probably write a book, but I don't think anybody would believe it. It'd probably go under fiction, to be perfectly honest, because nobody would absolutely believe it. But I can relate to that, so I can kind of relate to her writing. The choice of murder by substituting the contents of antihistamine tablet with oleander meant that an alibi held no value because the tablet could have been switched at any time. So it's a great novel. I totally related to that one. And it goes on that the Kinsey tracks down the accountant's parents, inform her she goes to Las Vegas. She's mystified that all this is going on. Somebody was recognized. I mean, it just goes on and on. It was, Kinsey solved the case. She was hired to investigate. She discovers that some previous notions are not what they seem to be. So, interesting. She is, again, she's a, she's a great writer. I like her books. I almost forgot about her, actually, because I'm trying to look for other books. Of course, then you have W is for Wasted, V is for Vengeance, C is for Corpse, all those, the alphabet murders. D is for Deadbeat, love it. She's, P is for Peril. So the alphabet murder books are great. She was born in 1940. She's a more contemporary author, but it's still different than some of the other ones I have read. Like I said, I'm more old school, but she's good. And her feature, Private Investigator, Kinsey Milhone, of course, is a woman. So, and it just goes on from there with her. She began writing when she was 18, and she finished her novel at 22. Oh, amazing. I wish I could have done that. She continued writing, completed 6 more manuscripts. Unable to find success with her novels, she turned to screenplays. She worked for